Alabama, UK. Jerron, I'm glad you saw the sessions. Different, right? It's different than any other movie you've ever seen in your life. West Des Moines, Corrado, Wales, Jason Weems, Dominator. London, Belize, San Francisco, South Carolina, Niagara, Amrit, Graybeard Chronicles. What's going on? Kingsport, Tennessee, Naples, Florida. Texas is in the house. Arizona. Tonight we're going to talk about fatherhood. Fatherhood. That's why the title is What's Up, Daddy? And that's why my handle tonight is Big Daddy. We're talking about fatherhood. Sun City, Arizona. New Philadelphia, Ohio. Rob, good to see you. Happy Friday as well. Heading to Philly tomorrow to watch the marathon. Excellent. Got a client coming down from Canada tomorrow. Excited about that. We're going to wait till we get a few more. Then we're going to be talking about a certain different, a few things about fatherhood that you probably have never heard before. It's going to be different, not your average dad talk. Those of you who have kids of any age or are dealing with children of any age. Yes, the Cobb, this is a brand new country gentleman. I love it. Love it. It's got a nice thick wall, never gets hot. Nose is itching like crazy. Excuse me. Let me just blow my nose here. The tobacco is Winding Road by Ashman, which is a Virginia with, it's like a cross between a aromatic and an English blend. It's nice. Winding Road by, I just got it yesterday. Love it. The smell is sick, man. It smells like raisin bread. Absolutely. called change of weather. We don't talk about COVID here, Anthony. What's the matter with you? All right. So let's get started with tonight's teaching. Fatherhood. It's very natural. Being a father is natural. Actually, there's nothing more natural than being a father, than creating children with a woman that you have committed to and has committed back to you. The highest and best use of your sex organs is making a baby. That's the first use of your sex organs, making a baby. Second use, having fun. Peeing. Okay? There's a number of things that the sexual apparatus is used for, but the highest and best use of that is making children. It's funny. Fatherhood. I'll tell you how important it is. I get 80 to 100 comments, letters, emails, messages a day, 7 days a week. That hasn't stopped. Hasn't stopped. Of people telling me you're like a father to me. You're a father that I never had. When I first started getting messages like that, things like you're like a father to me, the first thing I would think was, well, when did your father die? And more than not, people would write back, oh, my father didn't die. And I'm thinking, well, how can I be the father you never had if your father didn't die? He wasn't really a father to me. And that was a tragedy to hear that there are actual biological fathers that are alive and well who aren't being fathers. So young men are learning how to be men from YouTube, from TV, from movies, and not from their own fathers. And that was a shock to me. It was culture shock at the time. Many times it was, well, he just wasn't in my life. So when I deal with young men, and of course I'm at the age now, and John Hoover from Austin, Texas will understand this. You get to the point where you're older than everybody. Like 90% of the people that you encounter on any given day are younger than you. So we're both at that age where everybody's younger than us. Now, here's the problem with younger men. There's two things. There's men without fathers. That's number one. And two, there's men with wounds that are created by fathers. Think about this. There's men without fathers, and moms can only do so much raising a boy. That's the reality. A woman, if a dude truly splits, if a dad truly splits and a mom really has to step in there, okay, that's cool. If it's a divorce and there's a fight and weird custody things and mom has primary custody, that's wacky. That's wacky. Every woman should desire that her boys and girls are 50% raised, regardless of what the fucking courts say. Regardless of what the fucking courts say. Every woman should be desirous to have the father in the kids' lives and not try to minimize it to every other weekend. Because you go instantly from dad to visitor. You're no different than a distant uncle. And that really blows. That hurts a young man and a young woman. So men without fathers are the reason for a lot of messed up men, young men. And the second thing is wounds, the psychological wounds created by the fathers that are around. Now, how do we get over that? We grow up and then we end up recovering from, I don't want to say bad parenting, but we spend our lives trying to figure out why we are the way we are. Nature, nurture, genetics. It was the way I was raised, the city I was in. Man, you should have seen my parents. Oh my God, if you knew my father. Oh my God, if you knew my mother. I can tell you right now, all of your parents were winging it. Your mom and dad did not go to a school and then graduate with a certificate that said, you can now be a parent. They were all winging it. Everybody was a big test. Everybody. Now, when it comes to being a father, when it comes to being a dad, how do you avoid creating wounds in your kids? How do you avoid that? Realize this. If you say it, you own it. If you say it, you own it. You can't call words back once they leave your mouth. Can't do it. You can't call a word. It's like a bullet leaving a gun. You can't pull a trigger and say, oops, come on back, bullet. I didn't mean that. Words are the same way. Once the words leave your mouth, you can't call them back. That's why it's important that when you open your mouth to your children, that you speak only positive words, correcting words, disciplinary words, but never demeaning words. Never. So, you apologize privately to your children. You apologize privately if you said something wrong or did something stupid. That's a fact. That's what you do. My favorite businessman, CEO, John Paul DeJoria, the founder of Paul Mitchell Systems, the hair company, hair product company. He says, catch people doing something right. This is great. This is business advice, but I think it's great for parenting. Catch people doing something right. Usually, think about it. Usually our radar catches people doing things wrong. That's just how we are as human beings. So what do? You correct or admonish in private, but praise in public. Same thing with parenting. Same thing with parenting. Never embarrass a child in front of his or her siblings, or even the other parent. You might have to have a separate meeting. Go out in the garage. I'll see you downstairs. Let's go up to your bedroom. Let's go into the rec room. Close the door. Very important. You correct in private, you praise in public. Think about this. You plant something. How many have had gardens? You've had gardens before? Everybody has had. You planted something, right? And you care about that thing. Okay, if something's leaning over, you put a stake in the ground. You want to keep the tomato plants up straight, or the pepper plants. You're growing flowers. You nurture them. Now listen. Your children are your seed. You nurture the seeds of things you plant outside. Your children are your seed. What do you do with a seed? You water it. You give it the proper environment. You do things that help it grow. If it starts getting a little bit crooked, you put a stake in the ground, and just straighten it out. You gently You gently straighten out a plant. There's a thing called, I believe it's called phototropism, where you turn the pot around, because plants will grow towards light. They grow towards the sun. So in order to get a balanced plant, literally a logistically, physically balanced plant, you do a half turn every day, a quarter turn every day, so it grows up straight and strong. You nurture that plant. Some of you young parents and older parents have nurtured, you've nurtured plants in your gardens more than you've nurtured your children. Realize this. Your children are your seed. Nurture your seed. What is the goal of gardening, of growing something? You want to grow something so it bears fruit, right? It bears fruit or vegetables or flowers, a product. All right? We raise children so they can bear more fruit. We raise children so they want to be free. They want to liberate themselves. By the time a kid is 18, you should not have to kick him out of the house. He should want to get the hell out by 18, 19, 20 years old. They want to get out. If they don't want to leave, both of you have done something wrong. Keep parenting simple. Keep it simple. They say that the enemy of execution is complexity. Making it too hard. Don't make things too hard. Okay? Kids don't raise themselves. They need guidance. They need guidance. It's important. Kids don't care what car you drive. You're more concerned about that. Your kid doesn't care if they get driven to karate class in a Mercedes or a pickup truck. It doesn't matter. You know what matters? You're taking them to karate class. Children remember your projects and the time you spend with them in projects more than anything else. We love to say in the men's development arena, watch what they do, not what they say. You hear a lot of men say this. Believe what she does, not what she says. It's the same thing for fathering. It's the same thing for being a dad. Okay? Kids are watching what we do more than what we say. I'll never forget the time my daughter dropped an F-bomb. I don't know, she was about 15 or 16. And I said to her, I go, where did you learn that word? She says, you. I got all embarrassed. I don't even remember doing that in front of her. It's important that you complete projects in the presence of your children. It's important that you start things and that you finish what you started with your kids, whether it be building a shed in the backyard, whether it be replacing the brakes on the car, changing the oil, painting a room, ripping up carpet. It's important that kids are part of a process from start to finish. And they have a feeling of pride and a sense of accomplishment at the end of a project. That's super important. One of the things I taught my daughter, I have 2 boys and a girl. I would tell my daughter, modesty is your gift to others. Privacy is your gift to yourself. You give yourself privacy. For instance, as the kids are growing up, There's a certain point when you stop putting all the kids in the bathtub together when they get older. Okay, when they start realizing, hey, wait a minute, we're different from one another, the son and the daughter. We're different. Then bathroom time's different. Bath time is different. And you don't run naked from the bathroom, through the living room, up the stairs, down the hallway. You start wearing bathrobes. You teach children modesty at a young age. You teach them that when you are changing your clothes, you close the door. You give yourself privacy. When they're young, you're the one who's tying their shoes and putting on their socks for them and their pants, getting them dressed, combing their hair. There's a certain point where, like, I will never forget, there's a certain point for some of you, and some of you who are parents, this. At dinner time, you would cut up your kids' food. Like, if you have meat, cut up the meat, cut up the vegetables in pieces. There was a time when I would just automatically reach over to my daughter's plate, bring it over, and cut all the stuff up on her plate. And I'll never forget the first time she says, "I can do that." And I almost got like tears in my eyes. I was thinking, like, wow, she's becoming a big girl now. She can cut her own food. I go, well, let me see you do that. And she kind of messed it up a little bit. I'm like, no, hold the fork like this and the knife like this. And that was kind of cool. At that point, it was hard for me to let that go, because I was the guy that I was always cutting up her food for her. And I did that with my kids until the point where they just said, I can do that. And it's almost like you have to give that up. And that's very difficult sometimes as parents. When they're changing in their rooms, say, okay, now close your door, or I'm going to close your door. You come out when you're dressed, okay? When you got your pajamas on or your bathrobe on, that kind of thing. We don't run around the house naked from the bathtub to the bedroom anymore. We don't do that. That's modesty. Okay? Things like that. Those are really important things. Modesty is your gift to others. Privacy is your gift to me. I remember one time walking into the house. TV was on. It might have been a video, like a Barney video. My kids came up in the Barney years, Sesame Street and Barney, and Blue's Clues, and that kind of stuff. Watching a video, and what was the other one? Veggie Tales. Kids were watching Veggie Tales, which I really learned to love. And I remember walking in, and nobody even looked up. They kept watching the TV. I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, stop, cut. And I'm like, cut, stop, time out here. And they're like, what? And I said, you're supposed to drop everything you're doing and come running to me when I walk in the door after a long day of work. And they're all like looking at each other, looking at mom. I'll never forget this. I said, you really need to be excited about your dad. I said, so, and of course I was talking in a more of a sillier voice to the kids. I was saying, like, I'm talking like they're little kids. And I said, you need to come running to me when I walk in the door and grab a hold of my legs and hug my legs and say, Daddy's home, Daddy's home. I said, so I'm going to walk out that door and I'm going to come back in again. And that's what you're going to do. Do you understand? And they're like, yes, Dad. And looked over at Mama, like winked at her. And I walked out the front door. Came back in the front door. She goes, "Oh, look who's here. It's Daddy." And all the kids come running to me. I said, "There we go. That's how I like it." And we were all laughing, just laughing our heads off, having a great time. And a lesson was taught there. And that was, parents are more important than what's on TV. Okay. Listen to your mom and dad. Don't just stare at the TV and let life pass you by. And ever since then, the kids were all excited about seeing Dad, even if it was kind of like this fake kind of thing. After they'd come running to me, and I'd pick them up and fly them through the air like airplanes and that kind of stuff. So if you do something long enough, through the power of repetition, you create neural pathways. Remember this, repetition is the mother of learning. It's important. Or there's a thing called method acting. Sometimes you have to become something. Sometimes you have to play act as a parent and have a pseudo authenticity. What if I had a bad mood? Am I going to walk in the house in a bitchy mood? No. I don't want to spread the darkness that I had from my day of work and bring it home and be in a bitchy mood, bitch at my wife and bitch at the kids, because the reality is Dad sets the tone for the house. So I had to just suck it up. Method acting. Even if you're not feeling great, your kids are not your mini psychologists. Okay? Your wife could say to you later on, "Man, you had a hard day, didn't you?" Or if she says, "How was your day?" And I'm like, "Man, it was a tough day today." She says, "Let's talk about it." I'd rather have you talk to a friend than talk to your wife. She's not a garbage can. You're not going to dump your garbage on her. But like Brandon says, leave that shit at the front door. Absolutely. Max Schreck, the guy who played Nosferatu, one of the first vampire films of all time, did a thing called method acting. And if you've ever seen the movie Nosferatu, had these long fingernails. And he was hunched over, and his shoulders were up, and his head was forward, and he had these long fingernails and this hood kind of thing. And he lived in this castle, and he was creepy. And they were shooting this film, the very, very first vampire film. And when the director would say, "Okay, cut," and it was time to break and have lunch, and all the cast and staff members were like having lunch, like in a break room or out in a tent or something like that, Max Schreck would stay on set. Listen close. He would, Count Orlok, he would stay on set, crouched in the corner, and stay in character. He did not just like shake it off and just become, he did not just become Max Schreck and have lunch. He literally remained Count Orlok, literally crouching in the corner with the hood up like this in the dark. And the people who broke for lunch, who didn't know him, think about this. You know what they said? They said, "Who is he? Who is this guy? Is he really a vampire? Maybe he is a vampire. He never broke character during the entire filming of this movie. Never broke character. Okay? An important lesson that morphs over to parenting. Don't break the character of being a solid, virtuous parent. Don't let a shitty day at work become a shitty day at home that night. Leave it in the car, leave it at the door. Very, very important. Learn how to relax with your kids. Learn how to relax with your kids. Don't busy them to exhaustion trying to pack all your parenting, especially you guys who are seeing your kids every other weekends. Don't try to pack all your parenting into one weekend. I know it's unfair. I know it sucks. I know that. I experienced that. But I'll never forget. We're going out for breakfast. After breakfast, we're going to feed the ducks. Then we're going to go play soccer. Then we're going to go shoot bow and arrow. And then we're going to go to a movie. And then I got tickets for the circus tonight. But tomorrow night, get ready because we're going to the coffee house and we're going to see this band. And then we're going to go to church in the morning, and you're going to go to Sunday school. And then when we come back, we're going to go out to dinner. I'll never forget my son saying to me once, "Dad, can we just do nothing this weekend?" Literally, can we just do nothing? And what do? We made popcorn, grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato soup, watched videos and movies, hung out. I don't think we put our shoes on once. Me and the three kids would sit on the couch and watch. I was actually recording American Idol, and we'd watch American Idol on Saturdays. And the four of us would pile onto this couch and watch American Idol and had a blast. But it all started with my one son saying to me, "Dad, can we just stay home this weekend?" Learn how to relax with your kids. Learn how to relax with your kids. If you're tired, say, "I want to take a nap." Who wants to take a nap? If you don't want to take a nap, pick out a book and read the book quietly until we're all done taking a nap. And 9 times out of 10, the kids would just all pile on top of the bed. And I just grab a blanket, pull it over everybody. And 9 times out of 10, everybody would take a nap at the same time, for 30, 40 minutes where you just close your eyes, everyone's getting quiet. At least one person starts snoring. And then one person gets up at a time. And it recharges their batteries and makes it feel like that they have 2 days in one day. Learn how to relax with your kids. Here's another thing on fathering, nurturing your seed. Bedtime rituals. Your children will use your bedtime rituals to calm themselves as they grow up. Let me repeat that. Your children will use your bedtime rituals to calm themselves as they grow up. Isn't that something? I would go literally from bed to bed and tell stories, bedtime stories. With my one son, we had flashcards. And I'll never forget, they were just flashcards with items on them. A violin, a piano, a bike, a ball, a cloud, a car, just stuff. And I would just lay down in the bed with them. And I'd say, "Okay, what is this?" He'd point to it and go, "It's a car." I'd say, "What color is it?" He'd say, "It's red." "What is this?" An airplane. What color is that airplane? You point to it and go, that's blue. I'm talking when they were like little kids. Next card. I wouldn't even get through the whole deck of cards, and he was falling asleep. Put the covers on him, give him a kiss, go over to the next kid's bed. With my daughter, whose mind is always racing, to this day, and I would tell her a story. And her favorite story was the Chocolate Fudge River. And I might have gotten this from like Willy Wonka. But we were floating down a chocolate fudge river. We're walking through the woods, and there's a river ahead. You see that it's brown and it's thick. And we came up to it, and we reached in, touched it, and tasted it, and it was chocolate. It was a chocolate fudge river, and it was flowing really slow. And I saw that there was a big marshmallow over here. And I put the big marshmallow in the water. And we both jumped on the marshmallow. It was like a big mattress, like an air mattress, like in a pool, floating. And we were floating down the chocolate fudge river. And on the sides of the river were rocks. How there's rocks alongside of every river. But they were jelly beans. And there were trees along the river, but they were made from candy canes. And the clouds in the sky were made of cotton candy. And ever since she was a little girl, I'd say, what's in the sky? She'd say, clouds. I go, what are they made of? Cotton candy. What's on the side of the river? Rocks. What are they made from? Jelly beans. And then I could tell when she was sleeping, I would do this thing. I said, are you getting tired, honey? She'd say, yes. And I would make like a little bird, like with my fingers. I'd go like that. And I'd touch her nose. And I'd say, the sleepy bird just came down and landed on your nose. Flew away. Because she'd ask me, she goes, is the sleepy bird coming tonight? I'd say, yeah. After we talk about the river, like that. When the sleepy bird would fly away, I could hear her snoring. Teach your children how to relax. The very methods that you use to calm yourself down before you go to bed, your kids will remember. And they will use those things to put themselves to bed as they get older. I teach my children, or taught my children, the analog life. For instance, I'll show you the difference. This is a lighter that lights my pipe. Okay? Might have, maybe 100 lights in it. It's disposable. When this no longer lights my pipe, I toss it out. This lighter right here lights my pipe too. But when this runs out, what do? I refill it. The two lighters side by side. One disposable, one permanent. There are things in life that are disposable. There are things in life that are permanent. Teach them permanence, not disposability. Teach them the analog life versus the digital life. That's why I got into fountain pens. I have pens. When this pen runs out, just a, that kind of pen, click pen. When this runs out, I toss it. When my fountain pen runs out, I refill it. There are lessons there. Teach children that things can be fixed in a throwaway world. That bleeds over to people and relationships. In a world where relationships are throwaway, temporary, things can be fixed. And you teach them when they're just little tiny things. Kids can grow up thinking if it doesn't work, you throw it away. That's why a young girl might have 20 boyfriends by the time she's 20 years old. When things are broke, you throw them away. Rather than looking for something that's permanent, she has come to believe that everything is temporary and throwaway. Same thing with boys. The currency of the parent-child relationship is attention. They don't care so much that you're going to karate class with them. What they care about is that you're with them. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We want our kids to fly the coop when they get older. That's called individuation. Individuation is this. I can't tell, or I can tell, when a child stops, or when the parent stops and the child begins, or vice versa. When the parent stops and the child begins. When my daughter said to me, I can cut my own steak. I used to cut all her meat up. When she says, I can do it. I can do it, Dad. What am I going to do? Argue with her? No. I will cut your steak. I will put on your socks. I will wash your hair. I will dress you. I will put you to sleep. I will do everything for you for the rest of your life. That'd be pretty stupid, right? We're supposed to be happy as parents when our kids say, I can do it. You kind of supervise them as they do it. So I think the idea is this, is that we have to learn to let go of our children. We don't want to see them fall. True story. I'll never forget. Daughter, maybe about a year old. They're not quite walking. They're kind of scooching. You know what I mean? They're on the carpet and they're kind of like moving on the carpet. And they're moving over towards a coffee table or a sofa and trying to lift themselves up. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. That age. I'll never forget. Here's a great difference between men and women. My daughter's little doll is about 2 feet from her. And she's scooching towards the doll. Her mama says to me, give her the doll. You see she wants the doll. I'm like, no, let her work for it. Mom gets mad at me, goes over, picks up the doll, puts it in the daughter's hand. 2 different kinds of parenting there. I believed that it was good for my child to move towards the doll. There was an incentive there. There was motivation there. Her mother, no. Take it and give it to her. Put it in her hand. That was the first time that I thought we're 2 different people, me and her, as far as parenting her is concerned. That was a wake-up call to me. I still remember the apartment we were in, the color of the carpet. I remember that doll. I still remember the doll. And she got mad at me that I didn't pick up the doll and give it to my daughter. Believe me, for you young parents out there, this is such solid teaching. Children need to see a functioning division of labor. I dated a gal whose parents got along so well, and I remember talking to her dad once when he and I were alone. And I said, "You guys get along so well. How is that? You and your wife get along so well." This is a long time ago. She and I came to the conclusion I change diapers. No, I change tires and she changes diapers. Literally. And which was kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of saying, like, I take care of things outside the house. I keep the cars running. She keeps the house clean. She makes the meals. She works with the kids. I keep, everything groomed on the outside. I bring home most of the bacon, that whole thing. And I love that kind of parenting. I love that. This is one of the reasons why I tell you date long, marry slow, and if you're going to get divorced, divorce fast. You date long and you find these things out. You find these things out. Otherwise, they can turn into huge arguments in your marriage. Now, speaking of arguing, what if you get into an argument with your kid? And I'm not talking about disciplining. I'm not talking about like just hardcore parenting, black and white stuff. Like, no, you can't play. No, you can't crawl into the fireplace. Okay. Or no, you can't play at the top of the stairs. Like, that's not negotiable. But I'm talking about things like that really don't matter a lot. But as a parent, you just got to win. You got to win because you're the parent. Or you got to win because you're the husband or the father. Let me ask you one question. When you win an argument with your kids, what did you really win? Gentlemen, when you win an argument with your wife, what did you really win? What did you really win? Think about what you want to be known for. What do you want to be known for? You will be known for what you say more than anything else in this world. You hear me? I don't care if you built a corporation. I don't care how many sports cars you have. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. What you will be known for, your kids, are the words that have come out of your mouth more frequent than any other words. And I decided a long time ago, some of you who've been following me, tell me what I tell my children on a regular basis. I am 61 years old. I'm 61 years old. And to this day, when I randomly send texts to my kids or talk to them on the phone, there's one thing I say. What is it? Some of you know. Let me see if some of you have retained that information. Jason, got it. I love you and I believe in you. That's it. When you leave this world, the only testimony that your kids should be able to say about you is this: he loved me and he believed in me. My dad believed in me. That's important. Didn't criticize me. He loved me and believed. Right now, if my kids, I am done giving advice to my kids. Can't do it. If they come to me for something, I'm there for them. But there's no quicker way for a father to slam the door on communication with his kids than to just be a nonstop advice giver. That's why I work better with coaching than I do coaching others than I do with my own children. Listen to this. When people come to you for help, they listen. They listen. Now, you model patience for the kids, contemplation, and you embody this phrase. Let me think about it. Let me think about it. Don't always be so quick to say yes. Don't always be so quick to say no. Let your children hear you say, let me think about it. Let me think about it. You are modeling that for them. You will not create impulsive children who make bad decisions. You will create children who think about things. You model these things for your kids. Remember Watson in the Sherlock Holmes series? Watson is bugging Sherlock Holmes. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Who did it? What does Sherlock Holmes say? He says, this is a three-pipe problem. A three-pipe problem. Right? You model contemplation for your kids. I'm watching TV with three kids. I get up, maybe 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Something like that. And I go out back. And I go out back. Through the kitchen, through the back door, and I'm sitting on the back steps of the apartment that I had moved to. And I'm firing up a pipe. Kids are on the couch in the living room watching TV. I'm sitting on the back steps. Just like this. Watching the smoke rise. I get done with the pipe, put it away, tap it, stand up, turn around, and there's my son, right behind me at the door, screen door, standing right there. And I go, oh, how long were you there? And he says, the whole time. I go, what were you doing? He says, just watching you smoke a pipe. He didn't say a word. He was watching me contemplate. He was watching me think. I literally take a puff. And then I just look up into the sky. And there'll be times where I just kind of put my head down. And he was watching me contemplate, watching me think. You model contemplation for your kids in the same way that you would model impulsivity. He didn't say a word. How long were you there? The whole time. I was watching you smoke. Come on, let's go in. This was the same son who I would be up at early in the morning before 5 o'clock. Everyone else is sleeping. I'm making coffee. I close the door to the kitchen and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, usually reading something in the Psalms or Proverbs, reading scripture, just trying to get my head straight for the day. And he peeks his head into the kitchen. I go, what you doing? He goes, I just woke up. I go, well, come on in. go, let me make you a cup of coffee. He goes, I can have coffee? I said, sure. He goes, I don't know if mommy would want me to have coffee. It's our secret. Poured him a cup of coffee, put some milk in it, a little sugar in it, gave it to him. Me and my son, let's see, 10 years old, sitting back on the other side of the kitchen table. I'm taking a sip of my coffee. I go, don't have it yet. It's probably too hot. Stir it a little bit. He stirs it. Then he takes a sip of it, looks up at me and goes, I like it. There you go. You're now having your coffee with dad in the morning. So every other weekend, son of a gun, I'd be up, make my coffee in the kitchen, close the door so the sound of all the kitchen noise doesn't go throughout the whole house. And at about 5:15, who sticks his head in the kitchen? Is my son, my oldest son. Ah, he says, can I have some coffee? Sure. So it got to be the point where me and my boy would have coffee every morning. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. In my little apartment, 1 mile from the marital home. Me and my son having coffee in the morning. Never forget. In the same way, some of my favorite memories are me having bourbon with my dad, smoking cigars out on the back patio in the dark. In the same way, I'm at this unique, beautiful place in life where I'm enjoying my elderly father, having a cigar with him. And about the same time in life, enjoying a cup of coffee with my young son. Like, if I could just be transported back to that time, just amazing. 3 generations together. It was amazing. Let me leave you with this. In the words of Michelangelo's father to the young Michelangelo, why can't you just paint on the walls like the other children? Thanks. That's your teaching for tonight. Any comments or questions? I'll stay up with you for a few more minutes. And that was beautiful. There's just 100 people watching this. And I hope you remember those stories and take them to heart for when you have children, or if you do have young children. The tobacco tonight is called Winding Road by Ashton, and I'm smoking it in a Country Gentleman. And it's Friday night. It's great. And it's what, 8 o'clock? And Eastern time. Cut hair tomorrow. Going out to dinner tomorrow night. I don't know what I'm going to have. I'm excited about it. Dress up tomorrow. I haven't dressed up for dinner in a long time. Probably wear a sport coat. And maybe a tie. Who knows? We'll see. Nothing like a country gentleman. It's just such a perfect. I had my son on the show once on the podcast. My oldest boy. He's been with the same girl for a year now. He picks very conservative looking women, Mennonite type women, wear dresses everywhere and their hair up in a bun, kind of stuff. Borkham Riff. Haven't had that in 15 years. Ohio in the house. Those are all the cool things about parenting. I'll tell you about the horror stories sometime and the mistakes that I made. And I made a lot of them. And there's a whole talk. I gave you a talk tonight about all the good points. I'll give you a talk sometime about the bad points and the mistakes that I made, what you can do to avoid those mistakes. Well, you guys are awesome. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. The night is young. I just got you prepped for Friday night for the weekend. So hope you have a great night. So many choices. So much crap on YouTube. But you chose to spend a few minutes with me. I hope you learned something. And I appreciate you being here with me. And if you didn't catch the whole thing, I'm going to keep this particular video up and watch it and learn. And I'll always be here for you. Join my Patreon if you want to go a little deeper with me. If you need coaching, available gb@georgebruno.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.